G'day and welcome to Aussievision. My name's Liv and I'm joined here with the lovely Steve today. And we're going to be talking about France, which are sending Alvan and Ahez with Fulenn. They are a wonderful group of artists and Steve's going to tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so they're a soloist, Alvan, who's kind of in the electro world music scene, and a group of singers from Breton called Ahez. They met only last year, and then got on and decided to send an entry to the French national final.
It's pretty solid. I think they met in a cafe or something like that. Love it.
Possibly in the bar. I like it.
How French. Well, anyway, they won the French national final this year to represent the country at Eurovision. They won both the juries and the televote to take out the whole thing, obviously. And in recent years, they've actually gotten the highest score in that national final in the last few years. So they got 222 points. It's out of 840 total. Barbara got 204. Bilal got 200 and Madame Monsieur only got 118. So it was definitely a decisive victory for sure. And we're going to move on to the jury appeal of the song. So basically we went to the Aussievision team and we asked them to vote out of 10 what they think the jury appeal of the entry will be. And we got the average, and the average is 6.43 out of 10. Steve, what do you think about that?
A tiny bit low. I thought it might be a little bit higher. I mean, I don't necessarily see this as a massive jury bait song, but my personal ranking was a 7, so I think 6 point something's a bit low.
Yeah, I mean, that actually puts it in 21st place out of all the entries, which is shocking. Oh, hello, kitty cat. Which that's the bottom half. Like, what?
Yeah, no, I don't get that at all. Maybe think. Well, we'll wait to see what the televote score was. Maybe people think it's more of a televote song, but a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly leaning on the team being a bit harsh on that one. I know that this folky pop category, it's a bit of a wild card at Eurovision, right? We haven't seen much of it. Like, we've seen a lot of songs that are extremely folky or more ballady, but not the ones that go down this EDM line. I mean, the closest comparison was probably something like Shum last year. Obviously completely different songs, but definitely down that different line where you mix a fusion of genres that we don't see a lot. And, you know, Shum got 9th in the juries at Eurovision in the final. Like, that's very good. So I think
absolutely.
Perhaps the team's been a little bit harsh on this one. I could see the juries potentially, I mean, their national final performance was a touch messy at times, right? So if they can tidy it up, I think there's definitely an overall package here that the juries can get behind. Like, think of Amir, for instance, with Jai Sheshe. Like, the song itself was good and the staging was good, but the overall impression was fantastic. And I think this is a song that the song's really great and the staging could be really great and the overall impression could be something that the judges can really get behind. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think you hit on the word messy. I think whenever I saw Shum performed, even in the early stages, it felt tighter and more cohesive. And I don't think it's, as we've said, it's not exactly a replica of Shum by any means, but it does marry that kind of folky, kind of very country-specific sound, a more kind of global world sound. But I think they just did it more successfully from the get-go. And I think maybe the doubts here are around whether or not Alvan and Ahez can make it tighter for a live performance.
Yeah, I mean, they've certainly got time to tighten it up, and I think the French delegation is aware that that national final performance wasn't the best that they can do because they've actually put a different audio over the top of it, which is quite telling. But, you know, there's definitely time, and this is a very commercial kind of song. We know that juries like radio-friendly stuff. Think of Joust with Grab the Moment. It came 6th in the juries in the final, and this is a much more tidy and contemporary song that's actually going to have a better long-term impact out of the two as well. So I don't think it's dead in the water, as the team maybe has suggested.
Yeah,
But,
we've worked it a little bit as a team, but I think, let's see how it goes live.
Yeah. Alrighty, moving on to how the team has put it as televote appeal. Out of 10, we have an average of 8.57. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's I think that's pretty accurate. I gave it a 9 and I realised I've slightly over-egged it, I think. I think if I was allowed to give half points, I think 8.5 would have been perfect. It would have been what I'd have given. This is where I see France picking up points this year, slightly by contrast to Barbara, I was going to say. Having said that, Barbara eventually managed to get almost equal between televote and jury. Points was more or less the same. So I went into it thinking France was going for the jury vote and ended up getting as much televote. So televote can go with a bit of a bop, or it can go with a bit of a ballad. You know, it's not as predictable. I think this has so much televote appeal, especially with your once a year viewer who do account for a fairly large proportion of votes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I definitely agree more with the team on this one. Look, the televote for years has been moving away from stock standard cookie cutter English language songs and rewarding more of these unique and authentic language songs. And this certainly fits into that category of something that a televote could definitely get behind it. I could imagine this type of sound sort of going viral on TikTok or something like that in this day and age. The televote's fickle, right? They grow off countries that do the same thing again and again and again. And France has done the best thing here. This is the absolute opposite of Barbara, like complete polar opposite. And that's fantastic because there will be momentum. The public will remember last year that narrow loss, and they'll go, I wonder what France is doing this year. So they'll already have a little bit of steam for them already, and they can now ride it with something that's got a bit of punch like this. It has instant memorability. Like when we were listening and ranking the national final songs, the first time I heard this, I was driving along and I just turned to my partner and I went, what was that? Like, make sure you make a note on that one. I think that one's really good. And it's just instant appeal. And it's very hard to get Eurovision songs that have that quality about them. So much staging potential, and we are in a banger drought this year. We really need an EDM song to just lift us right up and, blow the roof off in Turin. So I think this is exactly what we deserve as fans. All righty, well, moving on. Obviously, this does not need to qualify. France is straight through to the grand final. We don't have a running order yet, unfortunately, but ideally, Steve, where would you like them to be in the running order? Where do you think is a nice patch for them?
I'd like them to come 20, 21, 22, that kind of just before the end. Don't want them to finish, and the traditional winner spot is around kind of 23, 24. But if you can somehow feature towards that end point, maybe if it comes after something a little bit slower to really kind of blow people away. That would be perfect. I wouldn't want it to open. It's the sort of song that you could put in the opening slot. That'd be the death of it. I hope it doesn't go anywhere near there. So yeah, for France to do well, 20-ish would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it concerns me that it potentially could be a show opener. It is something that could really go with a bang, and because France did so well last year, I wouldn't be surprised if they went down that route. So I hope they don't, because if they were chucked in towards the end there, I think they've got a really solid chance of getting an amazing result like last year as well. And going into that, on a good evening, Steve, where do you see this finishing?
I think this should come as top 10. I think this is a top 10 worthy song, and I think on a really good result, 5, 6, 7. That's where I can see it being kind of at its absolute height. I'd love it to make the top 3. It's in my personal top 3. I'd be surprised if it did make the top 3. There are at least 3 other songs that I can see having more appeal, both juries and televote. So yeah, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be great. Good result for France.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I do think if they can get all the timing right on their vocals and bring some really eye-catching staging, I'm seeing a 3rd to 5th, honestly. But on maybe a more realistic note, probably in the patch that you're talking about, and I could see this absolutely falling apart if they do not tighten it up, or they do the same staging that they did at the national final. I could see this easily finishing like 8th to 15th or something.
Yeah, I think I would be shocked if it wasn't left-hand side of the board, unless it was so messy that, as you said, it fell apart.
Yeah, well, sounds like we see a lot of potential in France this year. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. Did you have any words of encouragement for the group?
Just tighten it up. Keep doing what you're doing. It looks great. I really love the call and respond kind of singing from the girls. I feature them really heavily. As much as Alvan dances about and jumps about quite a lot, let's keep some focus on that. And well done on picking something that isn't a carbon copy of last year. Try something different is good.
Very ballsy. All right. Thank you very much. See ya.
All right. See ya.